again, my name is Abdul, and I'm one of the committee members of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, IMechE, for University Tenaga National Student Chapter. And of course, I will be your second moderator for today, along with my partner, Melinda. So Melinda and I, in fact, have been super excited and also counting hours for today's fantastic session and couldn't wait anymore. I'm with you from the heart of UNITEN Putrajaya campus right now. So let this bring some good memories to our alumni and recall back some of their time in UNITEN Putrajaya campus. Well, definitely we look forward to having just a great session today and on this beautiful Saturday. Yeah. So do we have Mr. Syed already?
I think I'm online with him on the phone. I guess we're messaging now between the three. I think he's still having some problems trying to connect in. He said here just proceed first. Let's try to connect in.
All right.
In the
No
middle,
worries.
so because we're already almost half an hour to the time, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to first and foremost warmly welcome our panel of UNITEN alumni who have joined us today. And well, it's in fact my honor to introduce them, starting with our panelist, technologist Syed Ahmad, who is the Chief Executive Officer in Shapadu Energy Service Sdn Bhd, and who still hasn't joined us yet, hoping that very soon he will be on board. And also we have with us today Mr. Sarly Adle Sarkum, the President and Chief Operating Officer and Executive Board Member of Honda Malaysia. And last but Walaikum Salam wa rahmatullah, good morning. And last but never the least, Mr. Ahmad Lofti bin Abdul Wahab, the General Manager from Coway, Malaysia, Sdn Bhd. Thank you so much, our panel, for joining us today. Super glad to have you with us. Thank you for allocating the time from your busy schedule and making it to enlighten us with a lot of things coming on. So our panel, how are you today?
Good. Yeah, we're good, but I think maybe Saggaf's not having such a good time with trying to connect in.
Oh, I can feel that.
Lofti, you're good?
Good.
You're good, yeah? Okay.
I'm a little
All
bit
right, that's great. So we expect him soon to join, hopefully.
I'm trying to get him to join via the web app. If the normal, the computer app's not working, maybe trying to use the web app helps, but I'm not so sure how he's going that. I hope somebody's supporting him on that side. Yeah?
Hopefully.
Okay.
I also would like to welcome our audience, of course, who have joined us today as well. And of course, as everyone knows, today's session is alumni sharing session, where we are having our panelists from the industry with a high degree of expertise. And one day they were just pursuing their studies at UNITEN, as most of us are pursuing it right now. Well, without further ado, I would like to leave the floor right now to our panelists to start, well, talking about themselves. Can't wait to hear that. So, Mr. Sarly, would you like to go first?
Oh yes, thank you very much, Aziz and Melinda. First of all, thank you so much to the Alumni Association for having me here today, because I think if I remember, it's like what 2002, so that must be like 18 years back. Yeah, so it's been quite some time, and I'm happy here today to contribute something back to my alma mater. Yeah. Just a bit of introduction. My name is Sarly Adle Sarkum. I'm the current president, chief operating officer, and executive board member of Honda Malaysia. I graduated from UNITEN, like I mentioned before, in 2002, and in mechanical engineering, of course. And I got my first job, not long after that. I think I graduated. I didn't even have time to and sort of like enjoy myself, have a relaxing time before I got my first job at a German manufacturing firm doing injection molding machines. So ever since then, I stayed there for 5 years, worked my way up, and I joined the DRB Highcom Group with a company called Highcom Taxi, which is a plastic injection molding machine, plastic injection molding vendor for proton and automotive companies. And from there on as well, I dabbled into a few positions, starting off with R&D, project management, quality, and then back to business development before I was appointed as the Chief Operating Officer of Highcom Honda in Sungai Petani. Later onwards, after 2 years, it was with Post Aviation, which is an aviation services company. And now I'm in Honda Malaysia. So that's my journey in short. Thank you.
A very inspiring journey, sir. Well, Mr. Ahmad Lotfi, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the alumni, for having me here as well. I graduated from UNITEN around 2002, 2003. As compared to most of my friends, I assume my journey after graduation was a little bit different from everyone, because I'm not pursuing into engineering per se, but I consider myself still practicing certain values of engineering in my area right now. After graduated, I was a process engineer in a factory, in a Japanese factory, and then after a while, I went as a project manager in a local company, handling few projects in Putrajaya and under construction. And after a while, I start to pursue, I start to divert myself, not into engineering, but more towards sales. And in around 2007, I started off my career with Coway, Malaysia, in sales. From there, I work up until today. And now I was appointed as the general manager, mainly to develop and expand the market, specifically in human capital development, as well as the business. And in my the organization that I'm in now is a multinational company based in Seoul, Korea. In Malaysia, we are having 14 other offices, but currently the market share that we are capturing right now is around 30% plus, and the figure is counting up. Along the way, later on, we might have better idea on how do I really practice what I got from UNITEN in my current task right now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed Lotfi, as well as Mr. Sarly. Well, in fact, it brings hope and inspiration when we are hearing stories from alumni and successful people who are already in the industry. And hearing your story and journey moving from UNITEN as a graduate till where you are today is very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to the second question. I'm sure we would all like to know what industries are y'all in at the moment, and to talk a bit on the background or like on a daily basis of like what you do daily of your work.
Okay, I think Lofti, you go first. I went first just now, right? So.
Yeah, sure, any of you.
As I mentioned before, I am engaged to a multinational organization. They are based in Seoul, but we have a branch in KL. What I'm doing right now is actually I'm responsible in developing and venturing the local market here in Malaysia. We are covering the domestic market and the corporate market as well. I'm not sure whether you are familiar with, or not with Coway Malaysia. You can see they are doing the marketing and advertisement all around. You might can see the ads in TV, radio, or even the billboards, right? And
Bro, your Adiba no ads are so big. I think it's almost impossible not to notice lah. You know, the Saggaf highway, things like that. So,
that part is done by our marketing division. I'm mainly on the sales part, in developing the sales team. Currently, within my organization that I started since 2007, I'm having around almost, I lost count already, almost 100 sales managers and reporting to 10 senior managers. These 10 senior managers are reporting to myself, right? What else? Working with this Korean company, all my bosses are all Koreans, the HODs, the MDs, all Koreans. So they are bringing in a different culture right here in Malaysia, and at the same time they are localizing the main business plan that they are implementing somewhere else throughout the world. And I have the opportunity to learn a lot from them, and my time is actually more towards on the recruitment part, retraining, and as well as the retaining of the whole sales organization under my organization. Currently, I can say we are capturing plus minus 50% of Malaysian market in terms of water filtration system for domestic and corporate use. Out of this 50%, I did mention before, the organization that I'm handling is capturing around 30% of the market. Yeah.
That's really great to hear. What about you, Mrs. Sarly?
Well, Melinda, can we before Mr. Sarly?
yeah, because I think Syed just came in, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even
Yeah.
before that, since our Mr. Ahmad Lofti just mentioned now the industry that he comes from, I would like to see from our audience, those who are interested in sales and marketing, can you just show a hand? I just would like to see. Microsoft Teams supports the function of raising your hand. So we would like to see who are those interested in sales and marketing. Well, I can see a lot of hands being raised. That's interesting. A lot.
Quite a number.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's right. So maybe before we proceed to Mr. Sarly, I just saw that Mr. Syed just joined in, and that's great to see.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Syed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My apology on the, it's not a good reflection of me entering a meeting late, but I've been trying to come in since 9:30. So there's something wrong with maybe I got hacked lah. I don't know, with the US presidential thing, I don't know. So assume that way lah. I mean, it looks more cool rather than saying that I have a technical problem getting into my Microsoft Teams. But anyhow, my apology for joining you guys late. I hope I did not miss too much.
No worries, sir.
We're just starting. Yeah, no worries.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our panelists.
Oh, you muted your mic, Aziz.
Oh, sorry about that. Hi, Mr. Syed. No worries at all. It's common to happen always during that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our panelist who has joined us just now. We have technologist Saggaf Syed Ahmad.
Yep.
So, thank you so much for joining us. Who is the Chief Executive Officer in Shapadu Energy Service Sdn Bhd. Earlier, Mr. Syed, we talked with our panelists, Mr. Sarly and Mr. Ahmad Lofti, and we were quite eager to hear from them to talk about themselves. And of course, we can't wait to hear from you as well.
Oh, okay, all right. They talk about themselves already, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, dah.
All right, okay. So that's the half an hour that I missed lah. So I don't miss that much lah.
That's right, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. Assalamualaikum. Very good morning. First of all, thank you to the organizing committee for organizing this event today. So I'm not sure how many participants. I can see plus 50. I was told that there's about few hundred people. Is that true?
I think that's true, Syed, but you know, it's Saturday morning, you know, so
Yeah. Correct.
we were students before, so
Yeah. I mean, I understand that.
That's right.
So anyhow, I'm supposed to give you some background on myself, right? I mean, Sarly and Lofti already done that. So okay, I'm from Johor Bahru. I think that's the first thing that I can share with you. I went to English College in Johor Bahru. Then I went to boarding school, Sekolah Menengah Sains Muar. So after SPM, so I got an offer from JPA to further my study to the UK, but I have to do 2 years of A levels in Malaysia. So during that A levels, I think in '97 there's a economic crisis, which means by the time you complete A level, there'll be no people from Malaysia, no students from Malaysia will be sent to overseas. I was looking forward to go to Manchester. I mean, we have some. I applied all the universities around Manchester because I'm a Manchester United fan. So we end up in Uniten. So back then there's only 3 private universities, Uniten, University Telecom, which is now MMU, and University Petronas. I think most of us, the reason that we went to Uniten is mainly because it's the nearest to KL. I think that's true, right, Chupi? Sorry. Rather than go to all other places, might as well be in KL. So that's why we choose.
among the 3, that's one of the most happening ones. Like,
yes, correct. It's the closest to KL, so that's why we choose Uniten.
Being in UTP and socializing with aquatic animals there.
Yeah. So most of us decided, and I think during our batch, I think there's a few thousands people that supposed to go to overseas and did not go, and we end up in Uniten. So you name it lah, from Shah Alam, you know, anywhere that prepared you for overseas, but we did not go. So everybody end up in most of us end up in Uniten. I'm in oil and gas industry. So after graduating in 2002, I started to go to offshore. Where I will be sharing with you later. So then, as my career progressed, I became a project manager. Then subsequently, assist the general manager operations, senior project manager, deputy CEO, and finally now I'm a CEO of a company. So as I mentioned just now, my hobby is Man United, watching football. And if I can turn back time and come back to any specific period of life that I want to be at, I think I would go back to 1998 to 2002, where we were at Uniten. I think those are the best time in our life. And as a Manchester United fan, again, those are the best time of our life as well. So again, thank you to the organizer for organizing this today. And I think that is some background on myself.
Well, thank you, sir. Back to 2000, you just mentioned. Now, I'm assuming that you also took part in sports and football activities in Uniten. That's right.
Yes.
And I have just a random question. Just
okay.
Besides the proximity to KL, when you joined Uniten, was there any other reason that attracted you to Uniten?
Back then, I mean, you have to know Uniten back then don't have any track record at all. So there's nothing in Uniten that but I think maybe this is where our batch is quite, we have this pioneering sense, trying something new. I mean, the offer was there. I mean, you can go to any of the private universities. Like I told you, among the 3 private universities, Uniten looks the most beautiful and the most the nearest to KL. So maybe we can have a better life in Uniten. And it turns out to be good anyhow. So I think we made a good choice by going to Uniten.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's right. There is a huge difference between that time and today.
Yeah, and also I believe that we hope we did justice to Uniten, because I think we were the first few batch that graduated. I think 2002 was the first batch there's a mass convocation compared to the previous years. I think that is the biggest convocation after the first few convocation held in the first few years. So we hope that we justified ourselves being Uniten, and alhamdulillah, I think that decision was a good one lah. I mean, we believe in that.
Well, I believe you contributed. You played a role in making Uniten what it is today.
Yep.
So thank you so much, sir. That's such an inspiring journey. Back we were talking about what industry our panelists are in.
Okay.
And Mr. Ahmad Lofti already spoke about sales and marketing. And how about you, Mr. Syed or Mr. Sarly, who would like to go first?
I think Syed, you go first since you came in late, right? So
okay, all right. So you're talking about industry, right? So
yeah, Malinda asked that
now,
question.
I'm in the oil and gas industry. So I think from oil and gas, I've been to, I think one of the most interesting thing about oil and gas is that I've been given the opportunity to basically go to offshore. You know, offshore, the cool thing is that maybe you can relate this to the Armageddon movie. You know, have you watched Armageddon where people went to offshore, you know, play golf? That does not happen, just to be clear. And recently, I think most of you might watch this Deepwater Horizon. That is more closer to what it is offshore, but you know, you just don't go from place to place without wearing your hard hats lah. I mean, that's what Mark Wahlberg did. I mean, went from one place to one place not with wearing hard hats. But yeah, in the first few years of my oil and gas career, I've been given the opportunity to go to most of the offshore platforms. I stayed on vessels, ships, you know. I stayed on the rigs, the one that you saw, like Deepwater Horizon. I stayed on the platform itself. So it's a good experience for me. But I think generally, if you talk about offshore industry, I can divide the offshore industry into three segments lah. You have the upstream, where you have all these offshore rigs, drillings and whatnot. Then you have this midstream, where all the collection of offshore products went to these midstream facilities, where they gather all these oil and gas products. And you have this downstream. Downstream is basically the refineries, you know, the plants and you know the processing plants that convert all this oil and gas raw material into some product. And for my company, I've been involved with my company and we are involved in all the segments. We have upstream, we have downstream, and we recently secured a contract in Pengerang. I'm not sure how familiar you are with all this oil and gas, whether at least you have read the news that Pengerang Petronas have constructed one of the biggest plants, refineries in most probably Asia, Southeast Asia definitely. So Pengerang, we have a big project doing maintenance and shutdown works in Pengerang. So more or less that is the oil and gas breakdown. So maybe I can just share with you. Even in upstream, the oil field development, you know, it involves a lot of phases, you know, from drilling, from installation. But my company specializes in the maintenance work, maintenance and any upgrading work. So we are the final contractors that went into the field to do works after the drillers, after everything. So we are responsible in giving life to that platform. So that's what we do lah. We specialize in that kind of area. Our work will not be turned into movie, that's for sure. Those we reserve that to the drillers and know the Armageddon, you know, the drilling companies. So we are less glamorous, but we are definitely one of the most important segment in the upstream industry. I think that's about it lah. I mean, just some brief on oil and gas perspective. What I do. So that's it.
Well, that's interesting, sir. And I think it's fair enough to also ask the audience, right, Malinda, and see how many people who are interested in also oil and gas. We saw a lot of hands earlier when Mr. Ahmad Lotfi spoke about sales and marketing. And we are going to compare at the end and see what the highest number of hands is.
Of course, I cannot beat Coway lah, kan?
Well, we are seeing hands being raised non-stop. That's interesting.
Wow, that
so,
is a lot of hands.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
So how about Mr. Sarly?
Yes, thank you. Myself, you know, I'm purposely wearing this red shirt today because you see the logo Honda here. So Honda is basically not a stranger to everyone, and you know, globally it's 150 billion, round about that. I think 150 billion to 200 billion US dollar company, which is like 1/3 of Malaysia's GDP. It's a huge company, roughly 70 years old. That's Honda globally, and people normally know Honda as doing motorcycles and cars, but actually they are a progressive driver of mobility, meaning it's not only motorcycles, not only cars, but you've seen Asimo robotics, you've seen Honda Jet, yeah, airplanes. And you've seen a lot of mobility devices and not so familiar here in Malaysia, but you see Honda engines on motorboats, you see lawnmowers actually, but not so popular in Malaysia. More popular in Malaysia is the cars, automobiles, and also the motorcycles. Yeah? So my line, if you have not noticed yet, is in automotive. So Malaysia automotive business is around about what 40 billion ringgit, and it's 4% of Malaysia's GDP. It's a very established industry with a lot of supply chain and many OEMs involved in it. And particularly in Honda Malaysia is a joint venture company between Honda Motors Japan and local partners, which are the RB Highcom and Oriental Industries. So basically, I'm like as mentioned before, I'm the president, chief operating officer, and the executive board member of Honda Malaysia. So in short, Honda Malaysia is a wholesaler of automotive vehicles. That means we don't, when you go to just to brief you a bit about the supply chain, if you go to the one of the dealerships that when you buy your cars at the dealership, that is not owned by Honda Malaysia. That is particularly private companies who tie up with Honda Malaysia, but they are standalone companies, and we hereby appoint them as the dealership. We are selling our cars wholesale to everybody, to all these dealers, but we are not owning the ownership. That's our individual partners. So having said that, that's our business model in Malaysia, and we are currently at 12% of the market share in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So Melinda, what type of students do you think will be the most interested and aspire to be in this industry of automotive?
Without a doubt, sure, mechanical.
Exactly, and that's where I am, and also you're gonna raise our hands and also see our audience, because we both come from the mechanical engineering course.
Yep.
I'll make sure this is. So can we see some hands, please?
Actually, I wanted also to know how many people drive a Honda in this event.
Wow. I don't know. I can't. Okay, raise my hand. I also raised. Okay, that's good. I think I've seen the highest number of hands being raised, so that's exciting to me.
Oh, there's a comment in the chat box.
Oh, really?
Honda Civic.
Honda Civic, thank you so much.
Well, thank you also to our audience for the interaction. Well, moving on, like as students who are still pursuing their studies in UNITEN, and we are always concerned, and I will speak from the perspective of a student, we are always concerned on what specific skills that we should focus on, believing that the future depends on how capable we are, how skillful we are as well. So as successful people in the industry who have gone through what we are going through today and have moved and make the huge step towards where you are today, what of your personal traits and professional skills help you the most? Mr. Ahmad Lofti, would you like to go first?
For me, this is a very interesting area to talk about. Before I got graduated, I watch TV a lot, and I watch movies and all. So I have in mind certain imaginations of an engineer in the real world. See, it's at that time, I have the expectation of having a very stylish career after graduation. Giving my name cards, showing my position as the engineer, feeling cool and all. That I have that kind of expectation. So after graduation, when I started to work, So of course, it's a fresh entry level of engineer. We cannot see much in the real world, but it's for me personally, it's really uh, not even close to my imagination at that time. All right, then I started to learn that there's in my area at that time, there's no thermodynamics, no fluids, no industrial engineering, and uh, not that, not even that close. So for me, the most important traits to perform and pursue after graduation is the personal traits of ourselves. See, how good are we to handle issues, to handle situations, good situation, bad situations also need to be handled. How to solve problems, how do we carry ourselves professionally in the area, in the company, with our clients, with our bosses, with our subordinates and all. And uh, what I learned from Uniten is actually the personal development and the character building that we need to bring and perform after graduation. Yeah. Uh, that's in a nutshell. That's the main idea. Even though right now I'm not practicing engineering as cool as Said Saggaf and Mr. Sarly, but I believe I'm still carrying the mold of and the mold of an engineer, the thinking mold that have been shaped by Uniten initially. Yeah.
I think I'd like to echo what Lofti said about the thinking part, because to me, if you ask me that question, two things come into mind. First of all, what Uniten prepared for me is the analytical part of being an engineer. So that's very important, because when you talk about analytical skills, is basically about five things. It's about communication, it's about creativity, it's about critical thinking, it's about data analysis and research. Yeah? So basically, these are the things you need to actually propel yourself in your career, no matter what your career are. So, and what I like about what Uniten prepares me as a mechanical engineering student, because if you notice, one of the questions that last time I was always asking or discussing with my colleagues in Uniten was like, hey, what are we specializing in actually? But actually it's general, right? But that generalness of it gives you that flexibility to actually pivot. Because if you look at me in my first job, I got a job at a German injection molding machine company, which is basically mechanical and plastics at the same time. So you have to learn a bit about plastics, but you'll be surprised that the most used equation that I was mostly used was P equals F over A. Yeah? Nothing to do with thermodynamics, nothing about that. It's just very simple. Yeah? But that's life. And that's number one, the analytical skills. And two is the important traits when you want to go outside. You gotta be humble, because it doesn't matter how good you are in university or how good you are in work. Yeah, there's always somebody better than you, and you always need to have this spirit of continuous learning and learning from people. Yeah? I mean, I'm the first one to say that even as the president and CEO of Honda Malaysia, I'm not the best and the brightest in the company. Yeah? But I'm so happy to have people under me who are very supportive and great talents under me to support and make sure that our goals are achieved. So those are the two things. Huh?
That's great, sir. Analytical skills, being humble.
Yeah.
That's actually great. What do you want to say, Mr. Ahmad Lutfi?
When I joined Coway Malaysia in 2007, the company was only 1 year old in Malaysia. They started their branch in KL in 2006. So I joined in 2007. So I can say I was the first engineer who went into sales in that company. So Mr. Sarly mentioned just now the analytical skills, the critical thinking and all. Uh, uh, I brought in the uh, way of an engineer think into sales at that time. Currently, in my organization, I have a lot of engineers in my sales team right now. And even I joined Coway at that time. I was not in senior post of engineer, but right now those engineers who are coming into sales in my organization right now, they are even senior post of engineers. They started off in sales. So that's an interesting landscape in sales industry in Malaysia.
That's right, sir. And also being the first one in the company, I believe that you faced a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
At first. Well, all right. Mr. Sarly also touched on a very good question that always comes to our minds as students. Like you were wondering or discussing with your colleagues, like, what are we specializing in? And we always really ask ourselves this question. So thank you so much for touching on that. After hearing all these tips, traits, and skills that needed in the industry, here comes down the most exciting and also concerning question to undergraduates who are still pursuing their studies, as well as to fresh graduates who are job seekers. So, well, like, what would you look for if you were in the position to hire new graduates from UNITEN? Like considering the fact that the market is very competitive nowadays, let alone the lack of job opportunities, I would say. So, Mr. Syed, would you like to go for that?
I think any new hires, and not necessarily from UNITEN, you need to understand that, first of all, you have nothing to offer to the organization because you start fresh. I mean, you only have a piece of resume, a piece of paper saying that what you did in your in college. So I always say that I always believe that any new hiring is a liability to any organization. But the organization function is to change these liabilities into an asset. I mean, how fast we can turn around a liability to an asset, that is the challenge of any management team in any organization, especially on handling these fresh graduates. So fresh graduates have to understand that you are in the position that you don't have anything to offer to this organization. I mean, this regardless of what you did in college, I mean, regardless of your scores, but again, these are all risks for any any organization to take new fresh grads. So but again, what do we see? I mean, I've conducted a lot of interviews. What do we see in all these fresh grads? I think the most important thing is that you need to tell us more than what is on that piece of paper. So which means you have to come as yourself. I mean, we're gonna see you. I mean, you can say that you have 4 flats and you know you scored well here. You could, but eventually that's not the only thing that we will be looking at. So more or less, I'm looking for the X factor. I mean, what is there in you that I feel that, oh, there's something in this person that we want to see if we can polish this, you know, to become something better. So I give you an example. Yeah, when you interview this fresh grad, you don't have you cannot be asking what are their experience before, because they don't have any working experience, maybe during the part-time works and whatnot. So I have this experience interviewing one of the UNITEN student, and this is a true story, I think 10 years back. So we have this one graduate from UNITEN. So obviously I asked for interview, and the person did not know that I was from UNITEN. So when he came for interview, then I started to ask all the normal questions. But in his resume, I saw that he mentioned that the extracurricular activity that he did was UNITEN Cup. He said that he was the organizer of the UNITEN Cup. Yeah. So instead of asking what you learn in college, I spent about half an hour asking how he managed that UNITEN Cup. So I let him be. I mean, he talked about how he organized, how he talked the whole thing about UNITEN Cup. And without knowing that I'm a UNITEN alumni, and basically I was the one that responsible organizing UNITEN Cup in the first place. So eventually, the thing that got my attention is that before he completed his analysis and description of the UNITEN Cup, he was saying that you know, I asked what were the teams in Uniten Cup. So he was mentioning all the big teams, you know, the Barcelona, Real Madrid, blah blah. I said, oh, that's like international. Huh?
Extreme
Mallorca, yeah. Spurs. So then I asked, being a Man United fan, I said that why there's no Man United in all the list of the team. So what he what he said me, which might got him that job, is he said that when Uniten Cup was first established, the president was a Man United fan. So he specifically says that there will be no Man United team in any of the competition. So and then only I told him that, that I'm from Uniten, I started the Uniten Cup. So, but again, these are the things that we talk about. I mean, it's not what you. I will not ask you what is thermodynamics. You know, what is this? You know, all the formulas. Those are the things that you learn. But you need to offer more than what is on that piece of paper. And I think another thing that I realized. I mean, as I go to a CEO level, my hiring is all at the management level. So I'm dealing with all the people with experience. So I recently just bring in one basically fresh graduates into my team. I just want this person to become some sort like a you know, EA for me. And she came from, is a she. She came from a generation. She's about 27 to 24, 25. You know, this generation. I would say that this new generation is more of a challenge compared to the you know, the other generation, because being the reason being is that you guys has more exposure. I mean, you have learned more. I mean, you have the power of internet. You can Google. You can, you know more than what we know when we were just finishing our studies. So to me, it's a bit a challenge, and one good thing about this generation, and I believe all of you that will graduate soon, is that I saw that you have more confidence than the previous people that have in the previous generation. The confidence level is absolutely magnificent, but I think that's where you need to balance the confidence level and what you can offer to the organization. I mean, you cannot just be talking because out of your confidence, but those are the challenge. So bottom line, you need to be yourself. You need to have that confidence, but not overconfidence. You need to show to us what you have beyond those one piece of paper that you send as your resume. And I think that's it. I mean, that's very important.
That's right, sir. And I was just going through the social media, and there was an intellectual who shared the post, and really it caught my attention regarding jobs and hiring. And she was saying, like, a graduate should consider themselves as a product, how you would like to present that product, what quality that product has, what value that product should be given in order for them to secure the right job. So pretty much what you mentioned. Also joining clubs, being active in Uniten activities is also a good point. Having confidence and better sources, and also internet and all that we are having now is very encouraging, as mentioned by Mr. Syed. So that's interesting. How about Mr. Sarly? Would you like to add on?
Hiring. So
yeah.
basically, for me, again, two things. I keep it simple. Two things. I think first of all, aside from don't get me wrong, academic qualifications is important because it's formal. It's the formality of learning, and it's a formality of sorting information, and you know, it's the standard as the benchmark. For example, CGPA of 3.5, 4.0. Yeah, it's important to be good in your CGPAs, but it's not everything. I think that one will be covered later. But during hiring, for me, the key point is always attitude, because you know, like what Mr. Saggaf mentioned earlier about, you know, when he talked about the person handling the football, apa tu? What cup was it, Saggaf? Sorry, what was the name? Uniten Cup, kan? But you know, that shows a side of, you know, other than your studies, what do you do in terms of management, in terms of joining, and how you think. So to me, when I hire, it's very important to see that part, because it shows what kind of person you are. And it's much better compared to, you know, just seeing something on paper. And normally, if I'm not an expert in that area, for example, like if you say that you're interested in photography, I will go even deeper into that. Okay, if you're interested into photography, what kind of camera do you have? And is it what DSLR? Okay, what kind of pictures do you take? What is the exposure do you need? What is the aperture? Because you know why? I want to know, aside from your studies, can you go really in depth into the things that you like? So very simple. If you can go to the tiniest detail of the things that you like, you can definitely go into the things that I ask you to do when you go to work. So it's very simple in that term. So that's how we gauge, because like what my colleagues here mentioned earlier, we don't know anything. Yeah, I mean, you have never had experience coming to the company. You're a fresh grad. So what do you know? What do you have to offer? So the best thing would be attitude. That's one. And secondly, please don't get discouraged, because I know you have this target in your mind. I want to join this company. It's my dream job. I didn't get it, or I'm a failure. No, because life is like that. Yeah, I think before, let me just give some personal information here. Like before I joined the DRB group, I think I went to more than like 20 interviews from that German company. Yeah, so it's normal. Yeah, it's normal to, it's a cycle of life. It's normal to do this. Yeah, and just gotta keep pushing hard. That's all. Thank you.
And I think maybe to add on to that, Sarly, I think you should not be choosy, I mean,
True.
When I started my career, I mean, I had interviews at Shell, I had interviews with Schlumberger.
Yes.
With Schlumberger, I did not even pass the first round of interview. So does that make me a bad person? No, I don't think so. But it's something that you need to learn and you know, seize the moment lah. Once you get something, just work hard on the thing. All right.
That's interesting, Mr. Sarly. Mr. Syed, thank you so much. Mr. Sarly, you just mentioned about attitude, and that's really a great point, which matters the most, improving and working on those tiny skills that we have and making them better and become more powerful in that.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. This is something we as students can relate to most of the time, and I myself am keen to know your thoughts on this. So the question would be, have you ever lost hope on your journey and just wanted to quit because you can't find what's the point in all this? So I would like Mr. Ahmad Lofti, if you'd like to answer.
I give the tough questions to you first all the time, man.
To be frank, I felt like I've you know, the feeling lost part of myself. I've gone through that process not only one time but many times during my studies in UNITEN. But I have certain kind of motivation to keep on going until graduation. And then like 1 month after graduation, my CV was so good that Schlumberger called me for the interview. I can still remember Miss Piggy from Thailand came down to KL for that interview, and
that's the same girl that interviewed me, man. So
Piggy in Rohas Perkasa. Huh?
Yeah, Rohas Perkasa. Okay.
I can still remember her name because I can't answer the first question. The first question was very simple, asking me, what is your dream job? Then suddenly I can't answer. I was blank. Then I thought at that time, oh yeah, what's my dream job actually? Yeah? and that question really changed me until now. How to say? I throughout the experience, I feel like we, you know, as mentioned earlier before, that I do not have, I was having a wrong expectation in the corporate world. You know, I imagine the other way around because I watched too much TV. Then when I entered the industry, it was different, totally different. There's no Armageddon. There's no Water Horizon. All right. And then the feeling loss is actually an opportunity for us to think deeper, to think of what do we really want in life. You see, as I mentioned before as well, I left engineering technically, but the way of an engineer thing I'm still practicing until today, which I learned a lot in my UNITEN days. when you feel, I believe a lot of students, not even myself, we feel lost many times, and when we enter the industry, also at certain times, also we will go to that area of our life. So when we think back, we think deeper, we got to know what do we really want, what really make us happy. Just now, Mr. Saggaf mentioned that during the interview, we should tell more about ourselves, which is not written in the resume. That is actually the other part of us, that the true us. I can say that the true us. Sometimes on paper we just write. We thought that people want to see that that angle, all right. But the industry is demanding not that. The industry is demanding more than that. I don't know whether you can connect the dots here and there or not.
I mean, is to have a realistic point of view lah, kan, Lofti, kan? Don't think about A and then suddenly, alamak, tengok industry B, kan? So you need to know, you need to have a realistic point of view of what you're talking about or what you're pursuing lah.
Yeah, being in sales and marketing, we have to got a very high level of motivation on daily basis.
True.
Yeah, but some guys, they are talking about motivations as motivation. But for me, we have to we have to dream big, but we have to dream big strategically. We have to dream big technically, and we have to dream big realistically.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So before you guys got graduated, you have to get yourself exposed to as many information as possible, so that you can manage your expectation, so that you can perform better after graduation.
Yeah.
Can we also link to that, Melinda? You know that some students would have difficulties in being convinced by the course field that they are studying in. So what would you also add on, Mr. Sarly, what they should look in when they want to go for a course or start?
Wow, that's
because it's too much related to quitting and also losing hope. It usually is a consequence of such decisions.
You know, I like to, it's interesting that you mentioned this. I want to put an example. It's not me, it's a very famous person. I think he died already because of cancer. Everybody knows him. He's the originator of Apple, Steve Jobs. If you read this article before, he mentioned at that point of time, one point of time before he established Apple, he didn't understand why was he taking these calligraphy classes. If anybody knows about this article, please raise up your hands. So he didn't understand why he was taking, is it a waste of time taking these calligraphy classes? But fast forward 20 or 5 years down the road, when he made Apple, it turns out that calligraphy classes that he took was very, very important in making sure the difference between Apple and Microsoft, because he would be able to tell, okay, this is the kind of good typography that makes people interested to buy or to own an Apple. So you see, I don't have the answer for that basically, but you need to find the answer yourself. What is important in the course that you're taking that can help you go closer towards your dreams. And I would strongly suggest, take some time to do that on the internet. Yeah, I mean, the internet is a wonderful thing. It's not only for playing PUBG games, but it's also it's a treasure trove of knowledge that you can look into. Just to continue with the question that you asked earlier about times that you feel down. Yeah, I'm a human being. Yeah, I also feel down sometimes, and there are times where I feel that what's the point in all of this? But I think the important thing here, again, I make it simple, 2 things. First of all, a support system. You got to have a good support system, because support system can be many. Yeah? It can be your family, close family, father, mother, brother, sister. And for those who are not fortunate enough to have this, have good friends. Yeah. Don't have friends that are destructive. Don't have friends who are not, bringing you towards your good goals. I'm sorry, this is the hard truth I'm trying to tell you. Have friends who have the same pursuit and passion as you towards your goals, and in short, have a good support system. That's one. And another one is I'd like to share, you need to take the risk. Yeah, every decision has a risk and reward to it. I just like to share one of the decision that I made was, I mentioned earlier I worked in this injection molding German firm before I decided to work in the RB Highcom. So when I took that career or that jump, that change, I took a pay cut. It was a 1,000 ringgit pay cut, and for a starting guy who just worked 5 years, 1,000 ringgit is a lot of money. So, but you weigh the consequences and you look at it and you say, look, if I stay in this company, the way I look at it, the business side, the people side, I won't be growing. So, I choose growth over the temporary comfort of money. So I moved on to the RB Highcom at that time, under Highcom Taxi. Yeah, I got cut 1,000 ringgit, but what can I gain more? What are the things that I can learn more in that career? So you need to make that decisive step to actually go, because at the end of the day, it's all worthwhile. Yeah, but make sure the risk is the right risk and that you are passionate about. The intention is right, not because I want to leave because I hate my boss. Look, you won't like your boss anyway. Okay, that's the result of it. Okay? Let me tell you upfront about that. Yeah, I hate my job because it's not because of that. You must be very clear about what you want in life and your goals, and you go for it. Have a good support system and take the step. Thank you.
If I may, just to add a bit more. The question is relating to quitting, right? Quit. I just want to take the Islamic perspective, and I believe in other religions also. You have this in other religions. In Quran it mentioned that one of the surah mentioned that fa inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra. So for every difficulties, there's a silver lining at the end of the day. So it was mentioned twice in Quran in the same verse. Back to back. So which means, as Muslim, some of in this session as Muslim, that is the truth. You need to persevere. Don't quit, because at the end of the day there'll be good things happening to you eventually. That's my take on this part.
Yeah.
That's such a good thing to be said. Okay, moving on. We all believe that time management is a very challenging thing for us students, especially when it comes to balancing studies and leisure. So, how do you manage your time between studying and playing games, be it video games or physical ones? More specifically, how many hours should we as students prioritize each one to get a 4.0 GPA? And the most important question, does CGPA really matter in the current working environment? Would you like to go first, Mr. Syed?
Okay, this is kind of a sensitive, things to be. I was made known that Prof. Dato' Zamri is in the audience as well, so we need to tread properly on this question, because we don't want to mislead the students, and we don't want to offend the management as well. But I think eventually when you talk about CGPA, I attended one forum conducted earlier last year in Uniten. The topic was CGPA or attitude, which is more important. So if you ask me, you have to understand that CGPA is basically some sort like a license for you to go to the real world. You don't have anything to offer. CGPA just have to be some sort like a benchmark that this is the starting point. You cannot be, if you don't get a proper CGPA, you will not be able to even market yourself. I think that's very important. So I'm not sure whether it's 4. I'm not saying that it should be 3, but it has to have enough credibility and credentials for it to become something that allow you to be in the space of being interviewed. That's the first thing. So I'm saying that CGPA is still important. But I think as we discussed earlier, the extracurricular activity is also important. I told you the experience that I had when interviewing a Uniten student. I focus more on the Uniten Cup, how he did the Uniten Cup, rather than how he fared in thermodynamics, mechanical static and whatnot. I did not ask all those questions. What reason being is that I also did not remember what I studied back then. So I cannot be asking something I don't know. But it is basically, you have to come in with your attitude. People will see you beyond the piece of paper that behind the CGPA. There must be a story of you. So ensure that you get good CGPAs. I mean that's very important. That's key anyhow. But you need to offer more. So I urge all the students. I mean, I know there's a lot of clubs in UNITEN, right? I mean, ensure that you participate in one of the clubs, and you are more advanced than our times. I mean, our times you are talking about football club, all those the normal club. Now you have those social CSR thing. I saw that you do all these minor projects. We will never be able to do that in our time. We don't know that we can do that. So I saw a lot of projects being undertaken by UNITEN students. So that's a good thing. So make sure you involve in all these projects. So that's very, very important. So and I need to say this as well. I mean, as much as you are good, you have good CGPA, you involve in projects, and I think eventually you need to understand sometimes luck does play a role as well. I mean, Lofti and myself go for Sdn Bhd interview. Both of us fail in the first round. So it could be that that's not our luck there. I mean, we could have other luck, I mean, created for us. But nevertheless, you need to work hard for it. I mean, the harder you work, the luckier you get. I always believe in that. So, but the last part you asked about how we manage how many hours games and studies. Answer you that there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. You know, some of the students, I'm not. Maybe this current generation also have this. You can just go to class. And after class you do whatever you want and still score good results in your exams. So nobody can tell you what's the best model for you. But for me, it is a balanced thing. I mean, I ensure that I involve in a lot of projects other than my studies. So you need to figure that out yourself.
Thank you for that, Mr. Syed. What about you, Mr. Lofti?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mr. Saggaf just now. The industry is demanding more beyond what's written on our CV, what's written on our resume, and it is actually demanding more beyond our CGPA, more or less. But the CGPA is very much important as well, because it is an entry level for us to go into the industry. At that particular moment after graduation, we do not have any real experience to convince our potential boss. All right, so we don't have that. The only thing that we have is actually the CGPA, right? And industry also well aware that they are not recruiting grads just based on the CGPA. But for me, maybe the CGPA is a form of representation of how do we think, how do we make decision, the discipline level of ourselves. Because these values, if we do not have this kind of values, surely or almost impossible for us to get a very good CGPA without this kind of values. As I mentioned again, the CGPA might be a very good representation for our future boss to see the values that we have at that time. But we do not have any track records. We do not have any performance in the real industry at that time, because we are all fresh grads, right? And when we are talking about how to get things balanced between our studies and the gaming sessions, we played games before. At our time, we played PlayStation, Winning 11. I played snooker with Mr. Saggaf as well.
PS1 back then, not PS4, PS5.
Yeah, PS1, the big one. Now we are coming back to the big one, PS5. On weekends, we went here and there. I was active in Club Kembara. We went up to a lot of mountains, Gunung Tahan, Gunung Korbu, and all these gunungs. I was even selected as one of the climbers to bring TMB's flag to the top of Mount Kinabalu. That one, I'm very proud of that, because I can go to Mount Kinabalu for free, because I got no money. I like climbing, and as well as that kind of value for me, when we are involving into games, into this kind of activities, we when we play games, of course our intention is to win. When we play football, we are playing to win. So that kind of attitude, the winning attitude, is very much important. that attitude is developed when we play games. So study shows that I gone through so many articles, so many studies on things on play games. Recently, I was in this pandemic season, the homeschooling things. My kids are all, they have to stay home and attend online schooling and all. Eventually, they are involved in more games nowadays. So I read through so many articles, and I found that games are also contributing to certain level of development in kids. Games, not all games are bad games. So we have to manage. In a way, we have to manage everything. And the most important is what kind of values that we can get by playing games. But of course, we need to balance. Not all the time playing games while you are not scoring on subjects that we need to score. Because at the same time, we understand that CGPA is the ticket for us for the future. Yeah, can you relate all this?
Well, yeah, in fact, there are many takeaways of what you have mentioned, Mr. Ahmad Lofti as well as Mr. Syed, regarding CGPA, regarding balancing time, right, Melinda? Well, before I move on, I just feel like some of the audience might be like now wondering, like, CGPA, okay, matters, but besides the skills and of course being competent in general, would you like Mr. Syed to give a number like for the CGPA? What CGPA you like to see when you are looking for hiring someone? Like apart from the 4.0.
Sorry for interrupting. For that, we have a message from Prof. Zamri in the chat box that he has to leave the session.
All right, thank you, Dato'.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Prof. It's been a pleasure in your class.
Yeah.
He really looks forward to having you three alumni in physical, I mean, in Uniten.
Yeah.
He was our
Thanks,
lecturer at
Prof.
Adle, so it was a privilege, always a privilege knowing him.
Yes.
That's correct, sir. I was just asking about the CGPA, just the last point for this question that Melinda asked earlier.
So Prof is not around anymore, right?
Yeah, he's not around anymore. And I think maybe Prof even did that intentionally to make you more comfortable talking about this point.
Yeah, I think maybe the three of us need to be fair to this question. I think we will never be able to give you the numbers. I mean, it's not fair for us to tell you that you need to reach this kind of CGPA. You know, it's not fair for us graduates to tell you what kind of CGPA you should try to get. But again, going back to the balance, I mean, you can get 4 flat, and then people will say, oh, this is a 4 flat. There must be something in you. Or you can get maybe 3 pointers, 3.0, but you do projects like, you go to Gunung Korbu, Gunung Kinabalu, you are the Uniten Football Club president, there must be something. If it has to balance out. I mean, if you get 4 flat, people might be interested in you, but you don't have any extra curricular activities. But people will say, oh, there must be something, we might be hiring a Sheldon Cooper, a 4 flat kind of guy. You know, right? That's Big Bang Theory, right? I mean, not too long ago, right? So there must be a balance. So it's not right to put a number, but I would say that you need to have that balance.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Before moving on, we have a question from a participant to have Mr. Sarly's point of view on time management as well.
My view on time, I have to echo what they have said earlier there, because it's right. You need to know the balance, because secretly one of all Uniten alumni is also joining this webinar, and we know that for a fact there was one guy who didn't have to do anything, just attended class, didn't have to study, sleep in class, but he still scored 4 flat. So everybody is unique in their own skill set. You need to know yourself lah. If you're the kind of guy that needs to study constantly, you have to do that in order to achieve what you call this your targets and your CGPA. So if you talk about balance, you decide the balance. If you can manage it, then it's fine, because at this age going into being adults and going into a career, yeah, there's no really formula for right and wrong. Everybody's unique. You need to know yourself really well. Don't measure yourself by your friends. If your friends can sleep and still score 4 flat, you might not. So don't do that. Don't do the same. So yeah, it's really you need to know yourself. That's important.
Thank you, Mr. Sarly, for the answer. Well, moving on now, here comes down the serious and real question. Considering that fresh graduates, I would say most of them, if you would agree with that, somehow choosy when it comes to jobs. And that might be an obstacle of getting a job at the end in any ways. So here's the question, like how to have a proper career upon graduating. Mr. Syed, would you like to give your thought on this?
Okay. Again, this is what I've gone through. I mean, this is from my point of view. It might be right, it might be wrong. You can follow this, you might not, you might have a different model, but I think you need to have these core values that must be instilled in you throughout your career. I mean, it has to be in you from the start of from your first day of working. When I start work, the first thing that I remember my uncle told me, he said that you make sure that whoever hires you have that confidence that you can do it. I mean, they said, okay, put Syed in one place, and okay, Syed will get it done. All right. So throughout the years, I mean, I always do this talk. I mean, I already involved talk. I call it philosophies of project management, but actually it can be generalized as you need to have these core values. So I have 7 core values. I mean, Sarly always have 2 or 3, but I have 7. These 7 usually I do in a 1-hour session, but I will comprise it in a 2 minutes time. So the 7 things that to me have to be, it's very important. The first thing, you need to believe. You need to have that belief that you can do things. I mean, you have to have that confidence. The second part is the problem solving part of you. I mean, wherever that people put you, you must have that ability that you are there to solve problems for the company. That's the second core values. The third one is that you have to get things done. I mean, you cannot be giving excuses. You cannot do this. You have to find ways to get things done. That will differentiate you from your colleagues and your competitors. I mean, that's very important. The fourth one is that you need to work hard. That's definitely in anything. You have to work hard and persevere. Work hard. You have to persevere as well. You have always to maintain this high standards. I mean, you need to put your work at a very high standard. You cannot, simply sending something, without proper checking and whatnot. So high standard is very important. The sixth thing is that the team player. Whenever you go into an organization, you have to be a team player. So I have 6 already. So I will leave the number 7 after after I mention this. All these 6 to me are subjective. I mean, you can have others. You can have 20. You can have 3. You can only have 1. So these are subjective quality that you have to have in yourself. But the 7th one is very objective. It is either you have it or you don't have it. It is integrity. I mean, whatever quality that you have and you don't have proper integrity, that's it, man. You are gone. I mean, people will talk about you for ages. That we have MACC, corruption cases. So you ensure that whatever that you have in you, the core values have to be anything but the 7th one, this integrity. I want this to be instilled in you, because as you work, I think Sarly, Lofti can ascertain this as well. The temptation, the temptation to go to the dark side is very, very high. As you go higher, these things will, you need to have this integrity. It's the most important thing that you must put in yourself. So those are the 7 core values that I already, when I do my talk, usually I will relate all these core values with some footage of movies or whatnot to emphasize my point. But other than this, I always believe in the 5 years plan. I mean, we are basically almost 20 years in working environment. So I believe that the first 5 years that you work, you have to ensure that you got paid because you are learning. So you are getting paid for you to learn. So you don't demand things. You don't think that after 3 years I'm that good. So if you want me, you have to have that mentality that the first 5 years of working is where that's the training ground. Get your hands dirty. So it will ensure you the following years, it will be better for you. But the first 5 years, ensure that you learn your trades. Work hard. I've been offshore. I've been on the vessel. I've been in the sites. So the first 5 years, you are getting paid to learn. So ensure you fully utilize that opportunity. It will be easier for you as you move forward. I always believe that first 5 years you will work hard. The subsequent years you will be climbing the ladder up. That's for sure. I've become the CEO before the age of 40. I think Sarly maybe might be earlier than that. But how this happened is definitely because of the first 5 years of whatever hard works that we need to do. So I think that if you're talking about proper career projection, take note of my philosophies just now. And take note of the first 5 years is very important for you. Pass back to Aziz.
That's right. How about Mr. Sarly? Would you like to add on?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what Mr. Saggaf mentioned earlier, and I'd just like to add a couple more points just to normally. I think it's important at the age we're living now. It's very important for all of you to harness the power of internet, because like last time if you talk about if I always remember last time we talk about career choices kan, you macam actuaries ni apa ya? Now you don't have to do that. You just Google it. What is an actuaries? What does it do? You got YouTube videos. Actuaries, the information is so wide out there so that you can really understand what you want to do in life. Last time you need to have mentor, you need to see somebody. If you for example, you want to go into automotive, you need to go to see an automotive engineer to ask him what's the prospect. But now you don't really have to do that. Yeah? With internet, you can do wonders by surveying and looking at the conditions, and then only confirm with people that the career path that you want. That's harnessing the power of internet. And secondly, I agree with Tuan Syed just now, is that you need to plan. I'm not saying that what your plan is going to be 100% correct later, but you need to have a plan. It's okay. You have a 5-year plan. If you dream to become a mechanical engineer in oil and gas field, fine. You put it on paper. This is my goal. What company, and then chart it out. It's okay. If you don't need it, at least you know how to pivot then. If you talk about pivoting, I would just want to give an example of myself. When I entered IMechE Malaysia, it's a injection molding machine manufacturer. Okay. How I got into the next job was because when you talk about injection molding machine manufacturer, of course it's plastic injection molding, right? So the company in DRB that time, Highcom Taxi, is an injection molder, the people who buy those machines. So as an R&D engineer going into that it's very useful because you're doing plastic parts. So I know the machines from my first 5 years. So we cannot kelentong me one, so that's how it progresses. So that's how you plan your career, and you sort of have to connect the dots along the way. It's not going to be a smooth sailing. You can trust me on that, because that's what makes life interesting. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarly. Thank you, Mr. Syed, as well. Such a great take on this point. Well, now I have another point to just, as undergraduates, we haven't been to the industry or the work field. So we really don't have that clear idea on how it's like. So we are really curious to know how it is like working in the corporate world. Is it even adaptable?
So
this question actually to all our panel.
Okay, maybe I can start first.
Sure.
You need to understand that the meaning of corporate world actually is quite big. I would think that me, Sarly and Lofti, now we are at that corporate level compared to when we started work. It's never a corporate thing. It's a work. We go for operations and whatnot. But let me share with you my position as a CEO of a company. For you to go to this level, as we discussed just now, the first 5 years is very important. So the corporate world, okay, this is what I want to share in terms of, in 2017, when I was appointed as the CEO of Shapadu Energy and Services Sdn Bhd, oil and gas industry. You know that it was 2015, the oil price crash. I'm not sure whether all of you understand this, but we used to have a price of oil about $130 per barrel. At one point in 2015-2016, it goes down to up to $30. Now it's hovering between $40 to $45. So So it was bad. I mean, that time the oil and gas industry is a dying industry. There's a lot of companies basically went down. The big companies struggling. There's a lot of issue with the oil and gas company, and it's not a sexy industry anymore. So I came in as a CEO during this wartime. I call it a wartime. So this is what I want to relate. We are the mechanical engineering students from UNITEN, right? So I would say that during the wartime, I'm not sure whether there's a finance or accounting students in this session. Maybe the best CEO could be from the engineering field. Usually CEOs comes from finance or accounting background. That's quite normal. I mean, most of the companies, the big companies, those people are the one that really become the CEO because they understand numbers more. But we engineers, I think the best, when you go to this corporate world, there's a lot of, I'm more a finance guy compared to engineer today. I can share you that. I mean, maybe Sarly also the same. We only talk about numbers. I mean, Lofti will talk about numbers. We don't really go into that technical anymore. But the advantage of becoming the CEO or the head of a company when you are an engineer is that we always have that 1 + 1 = 2. We learn our formulas in if it's there's assumption of formulas. The formulas is fixed already. Unfortunately, in the corporate world, the numbers is not that 1 + 1 not necessarily 2. Unfortunately, so when I took over, I think that's what we did. We go back to engineering. It's 1 + 1 = 2. So if you have a sale of $1, what is our cost? It's 80 cents. So 20 cent margin. So again, from the corporate perspective, I think being an engineer, it gives you a lot of advantage because you see things objectively compared to the other segments, because we are very good with formulas. We are very good with numbers in terms of the true numbers. I mean, we don't have any interest in terms how to change the numbers, right? You might not understand what I'm saying now, but maybe in 10-15 years time, when you go to this level, you understand what I'm trying to say. But again, from a corporate perspective, I think as you go up, I think the demand of you is changing. I mean, maybe the first year you are sent that you need to ensure this machine works. That's all you have to do. As you go higher, you have to ensure 10 machines work. You need to manage 10 machines. As you go higher, you have to manage the whole operation relating to all the machines around there. So in the corporate world, I think what is important is that you need to always have that leadership quality. This is where you need to learn. You always must be in control. You must always organize things. You have to adapt. And eventually, as a leader, this is the most important thing. This is where you need to inspire your teammates. At the corporate world, once you are at that level, you need to have that inspirational. You see, Lofti, if you go to his Facebook, I mean, you can see how inspirational he is to his team. You see that the comments his team, he can post one picture of him drinking teh tarik and you can have thousands of comments. So that's inspiration for you lah. So again, as you grow in this corporate world, that's what you need to do. Eventually, you need to inspire people, to perform at a different level. I mean, you see, Lofti is doing this. I want to prove to him that I can do this. So it's a progression. It relates to the first question just now in terms of your career progression. So the corporate world will teach you all those things. So maybe the Sarly can add up on this.
Yeah, just looking at the definition, if you want to talk about definition kan, corporate world ni basically it's when we talk about corporate, it's a large company or corporation lah kan. So I think what we learned, I go back to what I said earlier on the analytical skills is very important because that defines how you're going to tackle things in the corporate or in a large company lah kan. You need to learn quick, you need to be adaptable, and having that analytical skills allow you to be much better in adaptability. But another point I want to highlight is that you need to have good mentors, and in a large company you need to really find who can be the best mentor for you, because irrespective of who we are, we don't forget that even in UNITEN, I owe my thanks to all the lecturers who have taught me there before. I am what I am today because of you, because of the teachings that my teachers before me and the lecturers before me UNITEN have taught me to be. So similarly, in the corporate world, you need to find good bosses, good mentors that can help you with your future career. So yeah, I think with the skill sets that we have and that simple guideline, I think yes, we can be adaptable in the corporate world. Yep. Lotfi,
Well,
to you.
thank you. Mr. Ahmad, if you agree with that, maybe I would add on or we proceed.
No argument at all. I really totally agree with the ideas from Tuan Syed and Mr. Sarly just now. The objective is very clear. We got to become more productive, and in order for us to become a better leader in whatever industry that we are in, and at the same time we got to align with the current life and our passion. You see, to become more productive, uh, a very good leader in whatever industry that we are in later on, and as well as to align with the life that we are pursuing. In order to do that, there's three areas or three qualities that we really need to have. Number one is we have to have a certain level of self-awareness. We need to aware internally what do we have, and externally how our environment, the people around us, how do they value us. Okay, that one is self-awareness. Number two is the adaptability. How do we really how fast we adapt with our environment, adjust and adapt with the environment. And number three is the humility part. What doesn't matter how good we are, there's always someone else better than us. How many things that we know, there's always someone else who knows better than us. So that's three qualities for me. It's very important. Number one, the self-awareness. Number two is the adaptability level, and number three is the humility part. Yeah, that's three areas that we really need to have in order for us to pursue better. And at the same time, Mr. Tuan Syed just now mentioned that the first 5 years is actually we are paid to learn. Yeah, I totally agree with that as well, because sometimes fresh grads, they are too choosy when they want good salary, things like they're prioritizing the salary part, which they do not realize that the first 5 years of their career is actually they are paid to learn. You see, so we have to decide that there's three areas: the pace, the salary part, what do we love, and what we are good at. So in the long run, we want to have something that the mixture of these three, the balance of these three. You see, and we got to be confident that the values we got to be confident. The creativity part, we got to make better decisions. If you see from the beginning of our session just now, there's a lot of things is actually moving around decision making. Things are happening because of our decision. So that decision making part, we as engineers, we are very certain, we are very objective in looking for that decision. 1 + 1 is equals to 2. So Mr. Saggaf mentioned just now. So that part is for me is very crucial for us, and we need to really consider so many things objectively to make a very good decision later on. And we have got to be we have to be very responsible on whatever things happen after the decision that we make. Yeah, there's always a reward and risk on every decision that we are making. Yeah,
That's right. So I couldn't agree more. So from leadership quality to having a good control over what one is doing, to the teamwork spirit, and also the inspiration by the leader, moving on to decision making, and all these great skills are just enough to take for today as our main takeaways. So thank you so much, our panel. We are really approaching the end of our session, so we'll try to go as quick as possible for what's remaining. And let's not forget that we have the most important part at the end, which is going to be questions from our audience, and we will be calling names to come and on the mic and also the camera and ask lively. But before that, just to digress a little bit, we've been talking about these points, and just for 2 minutes, we are going to steal 2 minutes from your time, dear panelists, to just play a quick and simple, funny game. Does that sound cool?
Okay.
Okay.
I promise, no more than 2 minutes. Right, Melinda?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and Melinda is gonna play the game. So do you have any game, Melinda? Any suggestion, please?
Yeah, I have one in mind at the moment. It's called Never Have I Ever. So
What
I'm
was that
sure,
again?
like, Never Have I Ever.
Okay.
Never
So
ever.
I'm sure.
Never have I ever. Okay.
Never have I
Never
ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the first one?
So I'll go with the first one. Never have I ever slept in class.
So what are we supposed to do? Are we...
All three panelists will have to answer this honestly. Like, have you done it before or not?
By yes or no, right, Melinda?
Yes.
Okay.
Never have I ever slept in class. Never slept in class. No, of course I've slept in classes.
That's what I expected.
Depending on the lecturer lah. So Dr. Jam's class. You know that Dr. Ibrahim used to be our lecturer as well, not in his class as well. Those are very interesting classes. We do have some classes that quite boring, right?
That's right. How about Mr. Ahmad Lutfi? Did you answer to that?
No, I never slept in class.
Oh, wow.
Because you slept at home, you didn't go to the class.
even worse than that, slept at home. yeah. I slept in class as well.
All right.
Of course, there's always something to learn after that.
So I think I should go for one. Well, never have I ever come late to the lecture.
Never have ever come late. Of course not. Of course, I've always been late to the lecture.
Just a typical undergraduate life.
So which means nothing much has changed since our times back then lah. I mean, students will always be students lah.
That's correct.
Yep.
Mr. Ahmed Lutfi always would wait for me until I ask again.
I have that experience as well.
All right.
You answered both already because first of all, you never late for apa tu? I never slept in class, and then secondly, because you never go to class in the first place. Okay.
Melinda, one more from your side.
Never have I ever done an assignment at the very last minute.
Oh.
Not true as well. I mean,
Yes,
that's quite
same
normal.
here.
Doing the assignment a day before, right? I mean, yeah. But I will share with you lah. This thing lah. This habit of doing last minute thing, it will go through until your working years lah. that's almost. You know, if there's a tender that needs to be submitted, I don't know for whatever reason, we'll wait until the last day before the submission date. So maybe that's where we learn lah, and we do it well lah.
Doing things on last minute is actually demanding a very high skill.
Multitasking, right? And all that.
If you do not have the right skill, you cannot do things on last minute.
Yep.
That's correct.
Yeah, in reality, in life, there's always be last minute changes anyways. Yeah, when you go to working life. Yeah.
That's interesting. So one last Melinda from me. Is that okay? Though the time?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I will make this one very quick because I have experienced this myself. So never have I ever walked in the examination hall and had a panic.
Panic in the examination hall?
Yeah. Or maybe looking at the paper, it was hard or whatever feeling happened.
That's for me. That's not the new normal. It's all normal.
That's right.
Well, for me, not really panic. You always have the anxiety when you go to an exam, especially one that you don't really prepare well for. But not up to panic lah, I would say.
Same as me lah. I mean, no anxiety. I mean, I think I always believe that by the time you want to enter the exam room, that's it. I mean, whatever that you learn, if it's there in the question, then that's it. I mean, if not, it's not. I mean, I've done my as long as I knew that I've already given my best before the exam, or if I don't give my best before the exam, so I'm ready for my fit during the exam.
That's right, sir. And as much as I agree, I also sometimes see very new things on the paper, though I studied well, but never mind. Thank you so much for this game and opening up with us from your experience at UNITEN during undergraduate. Yeah, thanks, Melinda, for the game. Maybe we can move on.
Thank you for participating. We can move on to the live Q&A session. So we had a hand just now from Tengku Lukman. Would you please unmute your mic and you could ask your question?
Sure. Okay. Do I need to open my camera as well?
Yeah.
If you wish to do so.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Hi and Assalamualaikum to all speakers and moderators. So thank you for your wonderful sharing sessions. And my question is, how all of you practice integrity in your career? And so that's my question.
Okay. You want to take this first?
Yeah, I can take this first. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Luqman. I think at the end of the day, it goes down to your support system and your personal belief, because at the end of the day, it's all down to you to decide whether you want to, take the blue pill or take the red pill lah. So, but always remember this lah. We've been working for what since 2002, kan? So 18 years of work here. Easy come, easy go lah. That's the, maybe I didn't go down that path, but I've seen some friends who go down that path. It might be a shortcut, but you know how things in life are lah. If you take the shortcut, you have to be willing to pay for the toll lah. So I've always had this principle, I might not, it might be the slower route, but it's the right route. So remember, in life, always do the right thing.
I think I need to mention this tadi, the blue pill, red pill for, that's from the Matrix lah, right? So you assume that these people
kan?
So,
I don't know. Okay.
Those movie was in the late 90s. Maybe you watch it, but
dia tak ada Matrix Reloaded ke? Lama juga kan? Anyways.
Anyhow, I think that's important. The integrity, it's not just a matter of the corruption part and whatnot. So it revolves around whatever that you do. I mean, you will be given tasks. You will be given assignments when you do work. So integrity encompasses the whole thing of what you do in work and in your life. So it's not something that you need to practice. It has to be in you. I mean, and again, as a Muslim, I think it's very clear that in our religion, and for that matter, in all other religion, that integrity is very important. The honesty. I think that is something that we need to have. That, I mean, from the early ages. So you don't practice, but it has to be in you.
True.
Yeah. In my position right now, I am moving around with a lot of my team members. We are in sales. We are exposed to so many things. We sometimes tempting situations that I believe for us, not even in sales or even in all industry, integrity is one of the core values that we need to have in us for us to pursue better. Not only in career, but in our life as well.
Yep.
Well, has that answered your question? Are you still with us?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, you're very welcome. Moving on, I think we will be taking one question from the chat section. And before that, I just would like to take permission from our honorable panel and let them know that we are almost reaching 12, if not already. And also to our audience, we are requesting just maybe extra few minutes to take more questions.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Really,
you can take extra 15 also okay, because again, I was late. We started late, so no problem.
Yeah.
That's great. We really value your time and know that you got things to do. Also, our audience, you would let us know by raising your hand so we know that you are comfortable with that. So the next question, I'm just trying to get the question. Well, after sharing such an exciting journey from all our panelists, well, there are students who might aspire to be at where you are today. So what would be the advice and what would be the fastest way to tell those students? When I say the fastest way, maybe I can refer to Mr. Sarly when he said that he didn't have enough time to relax after graduation and he got a job. So yeah, that's the question.
What's the fastest way?
The fastest way to getting to where someone is dreaming to become. For example, where you are today. If someone is, aspiring to be at where you are today after sharing your journey, what's the advice? Maybe something secret, a fast way.
If I may, I think Sarly has been mentioning the support system, right? So when I started work, I mean, this is where you need to surround yourself with good mentors. That's very important. I mean, despite whatever that you will be success. I mean, mentors is very, very important. Not mentors, mentors. Mentors is very important because if I have somebody that I can guide, I mean, I was guided by a few mentors. I mean, in this segment, in offshore, there's somebody looking after me. You try to learn as much. So the shortcut comes from their experience, actually. The sharing of experience from your seniors. You need to attach yourself with some of these people so that from time to time, sometimes you will be more successful than your mentors. It's about then you have to find another one who is higher than you. So I have like 6 or 7 mentors since I started work. So every time when I reach to a certain level, when I basically achieve more than my previous mentor. Not to say that we disconnect with these people. They are still part of your life, but you need to have somebody that can challenge you to go further.
Because the challenges change.
Yes, correct. The challenges change. So I think that will help you to have that shortcut. I mean, shortcuts can only have to me if you have a very good support system.
Yeah, it's not only matter of how long you are in the business. I mean, in the development period. It's for me. It's how intense you get yourself involved into what you're doing. Relating to that, how when you're having the correct mentor, the mentor can really sort of giving you the shortcuts. Now we learn from their experience, not from our own experience. Even though the industry is not theoretical learning, it is more on experiential learning. But those mentors, they can speed up, they can boost the involvement, the learning stage of ourselves. We can get ourselves intense, but anyway, it comes down to our own intention. Do we really have the real intention to perform in what industry that we are in? Do we really have the correct why factors on why should we really into the business, into the industry?
Yeah. Just to add to the two panelists, I don't want to just to add to that. I think as much as we have mentors, they can only do 50% of the part. But you've got to be willing to do the other 50%, which is to work smart and hard to achieve that goal. If you want it to be there. Yeah. There's another question. So I see hands there.
Okay. Thank you. We have another question from the chat box from Dinesh. Will companies support us for management studies to further ourselves on higher management positions like MBA, or just being is enough to climb to sit in higher management position with enough experience, like any talent program? I'm more interested in management section of a company.
So I think maybe to answer you, who was the Dinesh? Is it?
Dinesh, yeah.
I think the most important thing, like we discussed is all this while, is that if you want to go to the management level, I mean, that's a natural progression of anybody's career. But the first few years that you spend at that operational level, as we mentioned, the first 5 years of learning is very important. I mean, you could be a leader in that small entity. You know, like I said, that maybe the first year you manage 1 machine, second year you manage 20 machine. You know, all those kind of thing. So this is my advice in terms of how you want to go to management, because eventually when you go to a management position, I mean project managers, eventually CEO, the technical skill will take a back seat. I mean, not to say it's not important, but it will take a back seat. So I did not have an MBA. I don't know, Sarly, whether you have MBA or not, or looking you have MBA or not. I don't have any MBA yet, but I'm looking forward to have one. But experience counts, but along the way you need to start to learn things that you have not learned in the university. Example, finance. I mean, I learned more about finance in the last few years, in the last 10 years. And then I know about profit and loss. I know about balance sheet. I know about, you know, all those things related to a company, running a company, which I never learned anywhere. I did not learn from college. I did not go to classes to understand this, but I read, and I have good mentors. So I have a mentor who teach me from the financial perspective. And for a CEO, I think you are being judged on that numbers only. I mean, every quarter, right, Sarly, we need to present a number to your board saying that, okay, this is our profit, this is our balance sheet, this is our company's value. So that's the only thing that the board is interested, because at CEO level, at higher level, you only deal with the board. You basically manage you have your managers to manage the work at site. So if I can advise engineers, maybe you can start learning about the finance part. If there's any elective topic about finance, you know, if you start learning all these things, I mean, that would be better for you. I mean, start to have some understanding of finance if you want to go to management. That's very important.
So the way I would answer this question is there's 2 parts. Some companies already have a very talent program inside the company. So for example, like Honda, we do have, even from Japan side, kan dia punya ANO or Asia National Talent punya seat. So that kind of like grooms the future leader for Honda, people who join Honda for management positions. But at the same time, I think it's also important for you to have empathy on your colleagues. Empathy ni maksudnya, an engineer, okay, you must understand, okay, engineering, you have a certain important things also in your work field that you need to complete. But having said that, you must also understand what is the finance people, what is the perspective of the finance people looking at you. Yeah, so you must understand, engineer is not only about spending money, kan? It's also about making sure that the finance people will approve for what you want to spend. So make sure that you're within cost. So that kind of empathy actually drives you to become a better manager in future. Like, you cannot become a management member without having this empathy. Yeah, you need to understand various aspects of the company, the people. Basically, you need to be a people person, lah. If not, difficult. Yeah.
It's very much depending on the company's policy as well, whether they are going to send the staff to studies or not. So it's a very generic question, but the answer is very much depending on which company organization that they are joining.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your question and thank you for answering. Next, we saw a hand from Khalid Ayman just now. Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, of course. Hello, good day to you all.
Hello.
Actually, I had 2 questions. First question is for management level, okay? But you all answered that question. So now I have another question. It's not important for other participants, I think, but it's important for me. Is what exactly that I need to do to be qualified when I'm going to interview? Like, I'm wondering. I'm always wondering about this in all my days or life. Yeah, that's it.
May I understand that when you ask this question, what kind of interests or what kind of picture of job you want to have? It's just an imagination. It's okay. It can be right or wrong. It's not a problem. For me to answer the question.
Oh yeah, You know, my dream is to be a manager, but the first thing I have to get into that company, and the next thing I will get a high rank. But first thing, I actually, at general, I need to know what exactly I need to do, to be qualified to go interview in any company.
Okay, this is already like a mini interview. Manager of what? Yeah.
Manager of what? Manager of yeah.
You can management is so wide. So
General
what do you like?
manager of company. Like I'm electrical power engineer.
Okay.
Okay. And I hope I will be a general manager for this branch one day in the future.
Understood. When you say general manager, that's why it's important for me to ask you your imagination to what when you become a general manager, what do you manage of? You know, for example, like me, I manage automotive business. So when you talk about it, what you need to, because my answer would be first place before you even think about the management, you must understand what you want to do first. What do you like to do? Because
I like to be manager for electrical power branch in company. Electrical power branch.
Electrical power plant.
Branch. Yeah, branch.
Branch.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay.
But asking a general interview, a general.
Okay.
First of all, I think maybe you have to know that nobody will interview a fresh grad to become a manager lah. I mean that's the first thing that you need to understand lah. I mean that there will be no offer on the table for any fresh grad to be a manager. But going back to what we discussed earlier on, I think the most important thing is that manager should be your aspiration and your target. But entering a job market as a fresh grad, I think you have to nail the first part first. I mean, you know, and if you want to this electrical power business, ensure you go in as an engineer first, managing some part of the business, and gradually going up the ladder. I think that will be more realistic target rather than you have the ambition. I know it should be a progressive career it should be a career progression rather than, you know, that's the first target lah.
Okay, but you know, a general interview, I heard many things about this. Like appearance is most important.
For sure.
Yeah, and CGPA is most important too, and your information about anything except your branch or your, you know,
Mr. Khalid and Mr. Sarly, I just want to ask Mr. Khalid Ayman. I think just to conclude your question and make it, you know, a final point so that we can have another question from our audience. It's like you're looking for tips on going for an interview, and you mentioned just dressing and like dress to impress. So maybe Mr. Sarly would like to give like a last point on what he just asked.
I think it's important to prepare, and well, like I said earlier, I've been stressing the point on internet, right? Internet is so powerful these days. Make sure you prepare yourself. If you're interested in the company A, for example, read all about it, know about its operations, and imagine yourself what value that you can bring to the company. And I think it should be fine. And if you talk about appearances, it's subjective, yeah. If you come for a corporate job, then you have to dress properly. Like if you come for a graphic designer job or, you know, the Google kind of style of job, most probably the dressing doesn't count so much. So it's subjective that manner. But you need to know, you know, what field you want to go in and address it properly. Yeah.
And bring positivity in the interview session. That's very important.
Yes. Thank you, Syed.
All right. Thank you to our panel for the answers. Also, thank you, Khalid Ayman, for your question.
Thank you all for answering me.
Have a great day. And moving on now, Melinda, what other question that do we have?
We have one from Mr. Chua, also in the chat box. So I will read it out. Hi panels, thank you for allocating your time today to share your experience. Can you share your thoughts on the following? Number 1, encouraging the students nowadays to get out of their comfort zone and take on various challenges. Number 2, throw away their mentality of wait for others to do the job, something like a free riders. And the last one, lecturer must spoon feed the students with everything mentality. Yep.
For me, it very much depends on what do we really want. We have to identify that first. But most of us, we want magics. We want magics to happen, so that we can you know, from the study time until when you go into the industry, we want magic. So magics will only happen outside of our comfort zone. So when we stay within our comfort zone, magics won't happen.
I think maybe from all those questions though, I was interested to. The third question was about the spoon fed, right? I mean, the spoon feeding by lecturer, right? Maybe if I just can share with you, that is only happening during your learning time only. I mean, I can assure you, once you go to working level, my first manager, he told me that what you are is basically we're going to throw you into the sea. So if you don't know how to swim, you need to learn while you're in the sea. I mean, that was his actual words. So if you can learn while you are almost drowning and you can swim, that's good. But the managers will only throw you a buoy. I mean, if he feels that you cannot swim. So that's all. I mean, there will be no teaching such as this is the breaststroke, this is the butterfly stroke. There will be no such thing, because everything is happening very, very fast in the working world. So the spoon fed part is only during your learning time. I mean, your lecturer giving you notes, giving you all those things. It will not happen in the working life. There will be some guidance, but in principle, they throw you into the sea. You need to learn how to swim fast, and if you cannot, they'll give you some life-saving equipment. That's all. I mean, you need to be fast in terms of whatever you do, lah.
I want to address the second question because I think it's an interesting question. You guys are still young. Yeah. I like to quote a name here. If you're familiar with the name Gary Vaynerchuk, yeah, who does a lot of social media on Instagram. He's a motivational speaker. The only part I don't like about him is he swears a lot, so I cannot ask my kids to look at him. But the point is, he always encourages you to try, which I'm 100% for it, because you guys are still young. You are at a stage where you're not really sure, do I really like even mechanical engineering? Do I really like this? No problems, try. Yeah, because you're still young. If you have a good support system, you can still crash and burn. You can still survive. You can still, the risk is not there. So yeah, try, but don't try for the sake of trying. Meaning that you really need to know who you are. You cannot expect to be the next the next FB punya maker kan. You cannot be like that lah. You cannot expect to be the next Microsoft. But my point is, try. It's okay, but have a plan and try, and it's don't worry so much about the consequences. Yeah?
All right. Thank you so much, panelists. We hope that the one who asked the question is still with us. Oh, that was from the chat section, right, Melinda?
Yeah, it was from Mr. Chua.
From Mr. Chua. Thank you so much, Mr. Chua, for your question. Moving on to one more question from the chat section. We have Nabila is asking here, what kind of preparation do we need for starting our internship during this pandemic? How is the demand doing in the industry currently? I would repeat the question. What kind of preparation do we need for starting our internships during this pandemic? How is the demand going or doing in the industry currently?
I think without a doubt, this is the most challenging time in the history of Malaysia, and I think in the world as well. We have never faced this before, and the economy is taking a very, very bad hit on this during this pandemic time. But the demand will always be related to the industry. Example, if you are looking for internship at the glove company, they might be hiring a lot of interns at this point of time. Maybe in oil and gas, it might not be that much opportunity, but still, my company is doing things like downstream, which is not impacted that much during this pandemic season. But I think, and if I understand correctly from the budget yesterday, there are some incentive for companies, in terms of the pay and in terms of the allowances that they. Sure, I need to read the budget synopsis today, but I think I think from my side, there's no problem of hiring interns. I've hired a lot of interns from Uniten, and for 3 months, just to familiarize yourself. And I think that will not hit you in terms of the your profitability or not, because it's, to me, that's a CSR thing for us anyhow. We need to bring in people, and of course we'll be biased to Uniten students. So I think there's still opportunity to answer that, but you need to choose a relevant industry to be in. I mean, of course, you don't go to airline business to ask for internship at this point of time. I don't think anybody is hiring anyhow. They are releasing people. So I think you need to learn a bit lah, which industry that is really hiring and looking for interns lah.
No comments from me. I think I have the same. I echo Tuan Syed here, and at Honda we never stop hiring. In fact, we just recently released our hiring ad this week, and to get more people in, because COVID aside, life still goes on, the business still goes on. You still need to survive. But you're talking about preparation for that. I totally agree. You need to look into industries which are more relevant or less impacted by the COVID pandemic.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for the question, Nabila. Oh yeah, Mr. Lofti, you have anything?
No. We are in sales. We are always having people coming in, especially during this pandemic season.
That's right.
So maybe it is quite coincident that all three of us technically not really impacted by the pandemic lah. I mean the Malaysia is having a big impact, but alhamdulillah the three of us are still okay lah.
We are glad to hear that, sir.
Yeah, next up we have a raise of hand from Zulaika. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. My question is very simple, don't worry. I would just like to ask, what is one advice that you would give to your college self, and why?
To what again? Sorry, I didn't get you. To
One advice that you would give to your old college self.
Old college stuff.
or college self.
If you can
that
go
means-
turn back time.
If you can
and
turn
you
back
want to
time lah.
find
Yes, turn back time, meet yourself when you were in college. What would you ask?
Oh.
I mean, what advice would you give?
So one, maybe I will buy Top Glove shares if I have money back then. But I think, to be honest with you, Zulaika, I think this is just me lah. I don't have anything that I want to change of whatever that I've been going through thus far. I mean, not a single thing that I want to change. For example, if I want to change things, I could just go back and why can't I just go to UK to further studies? I mean, that could be a more reasonable change that I want. But I think I'm quite satisfied with what that has been going on in my life, and I would say that maybe not relevant to your question. What is the advice? As I said, the answer to that is that I don't think that I will go back and advise myself to do things differently from what I'm doing now. But I think going back to the Uniten part, I just want to share that sometimes I went to a meeting with foreigners, with other big corporate people, and whatnot. So sometimes during the coffee session, they will ask me where did I study. I mean, I told them I studied in Uniten. So their response is that I really thought that you are overseas graduates. So that is a compliment to Uniten itself. I mean, people thought that the graduates overseas graduated students. It shows that whatever that we did in Uniten, I think Uniten really elevate us to the next level. So that's why we're always thankful with Uniten. And again, my answer, if I can change anything, advise myself going back, I don't think I have any advice lah. I don't know about Sarly and Lofti lah.
Yeah. Maybe when we were students, we were hoping to change so many things, but throughout our real life later on, like ourselves now, 18, 20 years already left Uniten, when we connect back the dots, we really appreciate on what happened for us, that we do not have any intentions to change anything.
Yep.
Yeah, everything happened to prepare us for our future. Yeah, I don't regret any part of my life. That are all very important parts of my life that was equipping myself to preparing myself to become a better me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I echo both panel members. I don't have any regrets throughout my career journey and my life, and but that's the serious side. But on the joking side, I wish maybe I could have played Counter-Strike better, because now esports is very big. Kan? My mom used to tell me, don't play games so much, but now people making a lot of money playing games, man. So how? Joking, joking.
That Counter-Strike I have to agree.
But that's jokes aside lah. But jokes aside, no regrets. Thank you.
I was not a good sniper.
Thank you, our panel, for addressing this question. Thank you, Zuleika, also for asking and joining us. Well, I think, Melinda, I will go for one last question, and also our panel. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, and
it's always good to be back and contribute back to our alumni lah. So no worries. I mean, timing wise, we are okay. No problem.
Thank you so much. Well, to our audience, due to time constraint, we may not be able to take any more questions other than the one I'm going to ask now. The question here is from Habib, and he's asking our honorable panel, as leaders, okay, how do you deal with the teammates or colleagues that do not want to cooperate with you? Maybe the tips to tackle this issue is what he's asking for.
I believe we will be facing that similar issues all the way. The similar issues will not be solved until it will not be solved. We will be always facing that, but it's just a matter of how sometimes we need to look into ourselves on there's what we call golden circle. Golden circle. Sometimes we have to look into the how, the what, and the why. The why, the inner circle is the why, the how, and the what. So when we are facing that kind of issues, maybe the colleague just now, you mentioned colleague, right? Colleague having difficult colleague.
Yeah.
Difficult colleague. So we need to identify first to tackle the issue, the three parts: the why, the how, and the what. Which part is actually the root cause of the issue? Then only we go for the options on solving the issues. The identifying the root cause is the main part of solving that.
I have an example on this lah. I mean, I have two examples actually. You are talking about teamwork. Remember that when I talk about my philosophy, one of it is teamwork. So when you work in a team, is quite common that some of them will not in line with whatever that you do. So, but I think if that's the importance of a working environment, you have the common goal. I mean, if you are given a task, a team needs to complete a task. I mean, everybody have to work towards that task. I mean, if you look at when I do this teamwork part in my philosophy, I always take this picture of the Avengers. You know, Avengers was made of a diverse background. I mean, you have Thor, you have all these people are not generally someone that can connect. But eventually, when they have the common goal, this is the first Avengers. They have the common goal of defeating the bad people. I mean, the guy that came up from the sky, those things. So they set aside their difference and they will acknowledge who will be the leader. I mean, eventually they decided that Captain America was the leader. Even Iron Man, with his ego and his arrogance, decided that, hey, this time we need somebody to lead you and work in a team. So that's very important in a teamwork. But having said that, to have a proper working team, it always goes back to the leader. I mean, how good you generate how good you inspire your team. So I have one example. Unfortunately, I have to do this. It's about Manchester United. So you look at the current Manchester United team. There's no inspirational leader that can combine the team to bring them to the same common goal. There's none. I mean, compared to the team, the earlier years when the good times, you have the people like the Roy Keanes, the all those good leaders that whenever that somebody new come into that team, they can just just go into the philosophy, just go with the same objective. But you don't see it now. That's the biggest problem that Manchester United is having currently. If I relate that to football, unfortunately, I'll definitely have to relate something with football. I mean, it surprises me that it takes me to the last question to do this lah. So, but that's the thing. Leadership is very important. Leadership will harness the teamwork among the team members.
Saggaf touched on leadership, and Lofti touched on what they call the golden circle. But for Honda, we have this thing called Y Gaya, which is a discussion. Yeah, because in Honda the style is not really top down; it's bottoms up. So basically, everybody, you will have all your difficult teammates discussing with you on how to solve the issue, and no matter how difficult they are, at the end of the day, team wins because you've got 10 people, 1 people being difficult, but 9 people agrees on, look, this is the best decision to go, let's go. So the 1 people, you have to do it lah. If not, you're not in the team, and nasib lah. But that's how Honda promotes this problem solving from bottoms up, because it's always a discussion, proposal to management, and that's how the system is being done. And this is, of course, what do you call it, after 70 years of trial and error and process, starting from the leader, like what Saggaf mentioned, which is Soichiro Honda in the first place.
Okay, thank you. I know Aziz mentioned that was the last question, but if you panelists would like to answer one last one.
Sure.
Okay. So we have one from Muhammad Alif. The question is how you view to employee who love to jump between company in order to pursue better salary. Did you guys gonna encourage him to pursue for better career growth, or you gonna label him as not loyal?
So
that was the last one.
This is something that is a good question actually. But again, going back to me, there's no right or wrong answer to this question, because it is what you design yourself to be. I mean, when I talk about 5 years plan, it could be that you learn, but not at the same company. You can, I mean, we have a lot of people like this. I mean, you have the loyal part, you have somebody that wants to grow with the company, you have somebody that wants to jump and earn better salary. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. And to put things in perspective, nobody can decide what is success. I mean, it could be that at this point of time, it could be that a success is somebody that is a CEO of a company, or you could decide that success is somebody that earning 100,000 a month while being a engineer. There's no correct definition of a successful graduate. So if you ask me on my personal note, we can't help that some of the people that join our organization will eventually leave us. So at least we know that we played a part in their career path. That's all that we can tell to ourselves. But no right or wrong answer. That could be approach 2 years, work with the company, then you jump to another career, have a better salary, or you can work for 10. I've been with Shapadu for 10 years, and my career progression is such a way that if I jump around, maybe I'll be earning more, but I'm happy with what I'm having now. So again, no right or wrong answer to this.
Yeah, for me, we have to have our goals. The long-term goals, we have to break down into smaller parts of the goals. Then we have to understand that for us to achieve the main goal, we have to go through the process. We have to achieve the smaller goals, combine it together for us to keep on growing towards the bigger goals. And we have to understand the process, and we have to focus on the smaller process each time to achieve small goals. Then only we proceed to the next. As what Tuan Saggaf mentioned just now, we have to understand each part of our career growth. It doesn't mean the first 5 years we have to stay with only one company to learn, but the goal is actually to learn. How are we going to learn? We have to design that. And we have to be responsible out of the outcome later on when we make a decision. Earlier on, I did mention that 3 areas that we are looking at, what pays well, what we really love, and what we are good at. So these three parts will be improving towards our progression in our career. Which part that we prioritize most, earlier part of the progression, the second part, the third part, and so on. So we have to have the bigger picture of what we want. We have to have the work frame of what we want, and by having someone who are experienced in that particular industry that you're going in, then only you will have better picture. You will have you can imagine better on what you want. Then you keep on focusing on each of the process. Yeah.
Similar to both panelists, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I have not accepted some people interviewed because they're jumping around. I have accepted some people interviewing because they jump around, because it depends on why you jump in the first place. If you, for example, like what Lofti mentioned, in that 5 years you jump every 2 years or every 1 year you jump the job, but that jump was not really because of salary, but because you want to achieve your goals, you want to learn more, then I'm happy, because I know you're a progressive person, and we can count on you to want to learn more when you join the organization. And like I said, always to my colleagues and my associates, in a company it's always 50-50, yeah? 50-50 meaning that there's a part that the company can do for you, but there's another part that you have to do for the company as well. So yeah, there's no right and wrong answer for that. Thank you.
I would like to share my jumping in the earlier stage.
Sure.
I started off in a factory as process engineer, and then I jumped into the construction site as the project engineer. You see this jump, looking at these only two jumps, from a factory as a process engineer jumping into the construction as project engineer. You can see there's no connection. There's no connection. So at that particular time, actually I was still looking for what really I myself into that.
Just experimenting,
yeah, experimenting. So when I go for interviews, of course the person who are interviewing me, they can see that I was not fixed at what I want at that particular time. So that is very not helpful during interview. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all for the session today. So we would like to apologize if any of you have further questions, but we did not get to call you out or address it. If you have any other inquiries, please, or for more updates, please follow our social media accounts that will be shown on the screen.
You guys can add me on Facebook as well.
Okay, sure.
And I'm on LinkedIn, and you can add me there as well. And normally I give advice to people who want to ask about career, so it's not a problem. Yeah,
I'm on LinkedIn as well. Anything you can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We'll also be posting a recording of this sharing session on the IMechE UNITEN YouTube channel in a few days. Also, we would like to thank the program director of this event, Alia, for pulling this off in a such great manner. And thank you, Technology Syed Saggaf, Syed Ahmad, Mr. Sarly, Adle Sarkum, and Mr. Ahmad Lofti bin Abdul Wahab for the great and inspirational talk today. And thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, the Alumni Sharing Session. On behalf of IMechE UNITEN, I would like to thank you all for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. The session ends here. Before that, we would like all of you to turn on your cameras so we could all take a picture.
Yes, that's right. So who's taking the picture, Melinda? You take it. Your side, maybe your phone has got a better camera than mine.
No, I'm not on my phone. I'm on my PC.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So you guys basically in the session and throughout the session, congrats to you.
Thank you.
I mean, there's a lot of participants. We didn't see this much people.
If any of the participants would like to on your cameras, you may do so.
I think they're a bit shy, Melinda. So you know.
Melinda, are we going to
Yeah.
count to so that they can get their post ready, or how?
Or maybe the IMechE committee members.
Yeah. So I will be
Can.
counting to 3, and someone would snap the photo. So, are we all ready?
Yeah, sure.
1, 2, 3. Let's go for it.
Right. Good to see you guys.
All right.
Enjoy your life at Uniten. Ensure you
Thank
enjoy
you so
it.
much. Yeah. Thank
Sure.
you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna. We had
Thank you,
really
thank
great
you.
time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sarly. Okay, Jupi.
All right. See you guys. Thank you, guys. Huh? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The session ends.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you to our audience as well, and have a great day.
Thank you.